So, when you're flying at 30,000 feet and the sky is just perfectly clear.
Oh, yeah. Best feeling.
Right. And it's incredibly comforting to know that. Like a machine is actually flying the plane.
Yeah, the autopilot.
Exactly. The autopilot is precise. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't, get distracted looking out the window.
I mean, it just executes the parameters it was given. It's basically highly efficient math applied to aerodynamics.
Right.
And as long as the atmospheric conditions match the data the system was trained on, the flight is flawless.
But, and here's the catch, the second you hit severe turbulence the kind that rattles your teeth and makes the overhead bins pop open.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
No. And in that moment, you do not want a computer just running some generic historical algorithm. You want a human being in that seat.
Absolutely. You want a pilot with a pulse.
Yes. Someone who can feel the way the plane is handling, who can actually look out the window, read the immediate, unprecedented context, and make a split-second intuitive judgment call.
Because in those chaotic moments, the rules change entirely. I mean, the math just isn't enough anymore.
Right.
You need lived experience. And frankly, you need human instinct to navigate the gray areas where the sensors might be giving, conflicting information.
And that exact tension between the relentless efficiency of a machine and the intuitive, kind of messy brilliance of a human, that is the core of our deep dive today.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are unpacking an excerpt from a piece titled The AI Copilot, Bridging Human Intuition and Machine Intelligence.
And it is such a fascinating read.
It is. The text provides a really pragmatic blueprint for how we can actively bridge the gap between machine efficiency and human intuition. We're looking at a complete reframing of the future of work for you, the listener.
Right, because the premise here is that we have to stop looking at AI as this looming competitor coming for our livelihoods.
Yeah, the whole robots are taking our jobs thing.
Exactly. We need to stop that and start figuring out how to sit next to it. The source text deliberately doesn't waste time debating whether AI is going to change the work landscape.
Because it already has.
Right. The tectonic plates have already shifted. The focus is entirely on leveraging the technology. It makes a very distinct, very deliberate pivot away from the concept of automation, and it leans heavily into augmentation.
Okay, so let's unpack that terminology because it's central to the entire piece.
It really is the foundation.
Yeah. When a lot of people hear about artificial intelligence in the workplace, their brain immediately jumps to automation.
Oh, for sure.
They picture a piece of software doing their exact job from start to finish while they pack up a cardboard box and get escorted out by security.
The classic dystopian movie scene.
Exactly. So how does the text define augmentation differently?
Well, automation implies replacement. It means taking a human out of the loop entirely.
Like a factory assembly line.
Exactly. Think of automating a physical conveyor belt or sorting mail by zip code. The machine does the task, and that's the end of the story.
Right.
Augmentation, on the other hand, is about extending human capability. It's the machine acting as a co-pilot.
Hence the title.
Right. It handles the heavy lifting of data processing, the repetitive tasks, the things machines are naturally good at. And it does this so that the human is empowered to do the things only humans can do.
Which brings me right back to the airplane analogy.
It's a great analogy.
The machine handles the steady cruising altitude. It monitors the wind speed, fuel consumption, all those endless repetitive data streams that would just exhaust a human brain.
Yeah, we aren't built for that.
No, not at all. But the human is still sitting right there in the cockpit, required to navigate the unpredictable storms or the complex communications with air traffic control.
The human provides the intuition, and the machine provides the raw computational horsepower.
And that horsepower is significant, right?
Oh, it's massive. The text emphasizes that the modern worker is dealing with a volume of information that is frankly biologically impossible to process.
Yeah.
So augmentation acts as a filter and a synthesizer.
I hear that, but I got to push back here for a second.
Okay, lay on me.
Isn't augmentation just the polite, socially acceptable early stage of full automation?
I see where you're going.
I mean, why should you, or I believe the co-pilot, won't eventually just lock us out of the cockpit entirely once it learns how to handle the turbulence?
That is the exact anxiety that keeps people up at night. And honestly, it's a completely logical fear if you view AI as just a human brain made of silicon.
Which a lot of people do.
They do. But to understand why the human remains essential, we have to look at the fundamental difference in the type of intelligence machines possess versus human intelligence.
Okay, break that down for me.
So AI operates on patterns, historical data, and probabilities. It is incredibly deep, but it is also incredibly narrow.
Narrow in what sense?
Well, it doesn't actually know anything. It just predicts the next logical step based on what has happened before.
Right, predictive text on steroids.
Exactly. But human intelligence is general. We have common sense, we understand nuance, and most importantly, we can extrapolate meaning from situations we have literally never encountered before.
But wait, as these models scale up and ingest more and more data, doesn't that narrowness start to disappear?
Not exactly.
Like if it ingests enough historical turbulence, shouldn't it be able to predict the unprecedented?
It can predict a wider variety of known variables, sure, but it still lacks a conceptual model of the real world. Let's ground this in a daily task to make it clearer.
Yeah, that would help.
Okay, an AI can read 10,000 past emails and learn the statistical probability of how to structure a politely worded response to a vendor.
Right, we've all seen that.
But if that vendor's factory just flooded and you need to negotiate a completely novel supply chain delay while maintaining a 10-year personal relationship with the vendor's CEO.
The AI has no idea what to do with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The AI has no lived experience of human stress or loyalty to draw from. It doesn't know what a flood actually means to a community. It just knows words mathematically associated with the word flood.
So it's the difference between knowing the dictionary definition of every word and actually understanding the joke someone just told at a dinner party.
That is a perfect way to put it. And the reason the machine doesn't get the joke is because humor relies on subverting expectations and understanding social context.
Right.
Two things that require a general understanding of human life. Until a machine can organically understand context and meaning without being explicitly trained on it, the human remains the essential navigator.
Okay, so speaking of historical precedents, I feel like everyone brings up the ATM example from the 1970s.
Oh, it is the ultimate historical precedent to prove jobs don't just disappear due to technology.
Right. The narrative is always the same. Banks installed automated teller machines, people panicked, but ATMs made branches cheaper to run, so banks opened more branches and actually hired more tellers.
Yeah, we know the macroeconomic math of that story.
But what people always seem to gloss over is the micro level. What did those tellers actually end up doing instead?
And that is where the real lesson of augmentation lies. The tools changed the daily tasks.
How so?
Well, before the ATM, a teller's cognitive load was entirely consumed by rote mechanics. You know, counting $20 bills, checking passbook balances, physically moving paper around.
Stuff a machine can easily do.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the glowing box in the wall took over the robotic task of dispensing cash, the teller's role shifted to higher level, more complex human interactions.
They had to actually talk to people.
He had to transition into relationship banking.
But that wasn't an automatic, frictionless transition, was it? I mean, counting bills and advising someone on a mortgage are completely different skill sets.
Oh, absolutely. It required a massive amount of upskilling. Tellers were suddenly responsible for helping customers secure small business loans, resolving complex identity theft issues, and managing wealth portfolios. Yeah, their job evolved from basic transaction processing to cognitive problem solving and customer relationship management.
So the friction was real.
Very real. The tellers who insisted on only counting cash did lose their jobs.
Right.
But the tellers who used the technology to free up their time and learn the new complex skills, they thrived.
So for you listening to this deep dive right now, the takeaway is that the ATM didn't replace the teller. It forced the teller to become a consultant.
Exactly.
It elevated the human requirement. It basically freed them up from acting like a robot so they could actually act like a human. But it demanded adaptability from the worker.
The repetitive work is always the first to go, but the demand for human cognitive skills expands to fill the newly created space, provided the human is willing to step into that space.
Which perfectly sets up the most powerful, arguably the most important quote from our entire deep dive today.
Yes, the golden rule.
This is the golden rule of the AI era, according to the source text, and I quote, "AI won't replace humans, but humans using AI will replace those who don't."
That synthesis entirely shifts the burden of competition.
It really does.
For a long time, the anxiety has been framed as man versus machine.
Yeah.
You know, am I going to lose my job to a server farm in California?
Right.
But that quote clarifies the real dynamic. You aren't competing against an AI.
You're competing against someone else.
You are competing against your peer, your colleague, or an applicant for your job who has suddenly gained a massive, undeniable productivity boost because they have embraced their AI co-pilot.
Let's walk through a concrete, modern example of this peer-to-peer competition.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine two customer success managers at a software company. Both of them wake up on a Tuesday to find 50 angry emails from clients because a new software update broke a key feature overnight.
Typical Tuesday in tech.
Right. So the manager who refuses to use an AI copilot starts reading email number 1.
And they read all 50 manually.
Exactly. Trying to mentally categorize the complaints, gauge the severity of each, and draft individual responses.
It takes them 4 hours just to understand the scope of the problem, by which time several clients have already canceled their subscriptions.
Painful. And what does the augmented manager do?
The augmented manager feeds us 50 emails into their AI copilot. Within 10 seconds, the AI provides a structured summary.
Oh, wow.
It says, hey, 40 clients are experiencing a minor UI glitch, but 10 specific enterprise clients are locked out of their payment gateways, which is a critical failure.
So it categorizes the threat level.
Yes. And the AI even drafts tailored apology emails for both cohorts.
So the augmented manager has just saved 4 hours of reading.
Right.
But here is the critical part, and I want you to really think about this. What did they do with those 4 hours?
They use their human intuition. They realized that one of those 10 enterprise clients is a massive account that was already threatening to churn last month.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And an AI drafted email, no matter how polite, isn't going to save that account. So the manager picks up the phone, calls the client directly, uses their human empathy to de-escalate the situation, and saves $1 million contract.
Because they actually had the time to do it.
Exactly. The AI couldn't make that strategic leap, but it gave the human the time and the data clarity to do it.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you in your career. It's deeply ironic. The ultimate threat to your job security isn't the machine's capability, it's your own human adaptability.
100%.
It's your willingness to change your workflow. If you are listening to this and stubbornly insisting on doing every single task manually like the old-fashioned way, while the person sitting next to you is using a copilot to summarize reports and organize their week in a fraction of the time.
They are going to outpace you.
They are. Not because they are inherently smarter, but because they are augmented.
Refusing to integrate AI makes a worker an economic bottleneck. The speed of business will simply route around them.
Wow. Okay, so if human adaptability is the real competitive edge, and we are working in tandem with this powerful system, what exactly are the specific traits that the human brings to the partnership that the machine fundamentally lacks?
The source text outlines 3 massive pillars that separate us from the code:
And those are?
emotional intelligence, adaptability, and curiosity.
Okay, let's start with the first one, emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is perhaps our greatest moat against automation. AI can process endless amounts of data, but human emotional intelligence provides the context for that data.
Give me an example.
Well, an AI can tell you that a client's purchasing volume has dropped by 20%.
Right.
But it takes a human with EQ to sit in a room with that client, read their body language, hear the stress in their voice, and realize that the drop isn't because they dislike the product, but because their company is going through a silent leadership crisis.
Okay, wait, let me play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Because I have interacted with some of the newer AI models, and they can be programmed to sound incredibly polite, patient, and seemingly empathetic.
They do use all the right words.
They really do. So what if fake empathy is good enough for like 90% of business interactions? If a frustrated client gets a polite, perfectly worded email and feels heard, does it actually matter if a server farm wrote it?
For routine interactions, that simulated empathy might be sufficient.
Okay.
But business is ultimately built on trust, and trust is tested in the remaining 10%, the high-stakes moments.
The moments that actually matter.
Exactly. AI is essentially playing a highly advanced game of predictive text. It recognizes that when a user inputs words associated with frustration, the statistically appropriate response involves words like, "I understand," and "I'm sorry you're experiencing this."
Right, it's an algorithm mimicking empathy.
But in a delicate contract negotiation, a PR crisis, or a sensitive employee performance review, humans have a razor-sharp radar for authenticity.
It's like the uncanny valley of emotion.
Exactly. We can sense when we are being managed by a script versus being understood by a peer. Simulated empathy breaks down the moment the situation requires genuine vulnerability or complex moral judgment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If a vendor misses a critical shipment, an AI will draft a legally sound, statistically polite email demanding an update. But a human manager might know that the vendor's local community was just devastated by a natural disaster.
So the human decides to call.
They call, they check on their safety first, and figure out the shipment later. That genuine connection builds long-term loyalty that an AI simply cannot compute.
So you're saying that 10% of high-stakes interactions is where the actual margin is made.
Yeah.
The routine stuff can be automated, but the trust building requires a pulse
Precisely.
that connects perfectly to the second human advantage, adaptability. Recognizing that a client is upset for an unexpected reason is often the very first signal a human gets that the rules of the game are changing.
And AI systems are fundamentally trained on historical data. They are spectacular at finding patterns in what has already happened.
Right.
You can think of AI as driving a car by looking exclusively in the rearview mirror.
Oh, I like that.
As long as the road ahead looks exactly like the road behind, it drives flawlessly. But the modern business world is defined by unprecedented disruption.
Pandemics, sudden geopolitical shifts, entirely new cultural trends.
Exactly. These are situations where there is no historical training data.
It's a completely new road.
And that is where human adaptability, specifically our capacity for abstract reasoning, shines.
So.
Humans have this unique cognitive ability to synthesize completely unrelated concepts.
Like mashing together totally unrelated ideas.
Yes. A manager might solve a complex supply chain issue by drawing on a strategy they learned from a gardening hobby or a sports game they watched over the weekend.
Oh, wow, yeah.
We use our messy, lived experiences to navigate ambiguous, novel situations. AI cannot bridge those unlinked domains unless explicitly prompted to do so.
Because it only knows what it's been fed.
Right. When the rules of the game suddenly change overnight, the AI breaks because it has no historical precedent. The human pivots.
When the rules change, the AI breaks, the human pivots. I love that. And figuring out those new rules requires a specific human trait, which brings us to the third and most profound pillar outlined in the text: curiosity.
Curiosity is the engine of adaptability.
Yeah.
AI is inherently reactive. It is the ultimate answering machine. You give it a prompt and it generates a response.
Right.
But it never wakes up in the morning and wonders why a process is done a certain way. It never feels a nagging sense that a product could be better. It doesn't experience the spark of inspiration or the frustration of an unsolved mystery.
So AI answers queries, but human curiosity asks the questions in the first place.
Exactly.
It's like AI is a library containing all the world's knowledge, but a library is totally useless without a human walking in and deciding which book to pull off the shelf.
Innovation doesn't start with an answer. It starts with a question. Every major scientific breakthrough, every disruptive business model, every great piece of art began because a human asked, what if? Or why not?
And asking the right question is actually incredibly difficult.
It is, because it requires holding two contradictory thoughts in your head. An understanding of what currently exists, and an imagination for what could exist instead.
Which AI can't do.
Right. AI only knows what currently exists, or what is mathematically probable based on the past.
So the AI copilot can help us explore the answers to our questions faster than ever before in human history.
Oh, without a doubt.
It can pull the data, write the code, summarize the research in seconds, but it cannot generate the initial spark of inquiry. The desire to know, to explore, to push boundaries, that is an exclusively human domain.
The partnership works because the AI removes the friction of finding the answer, which theoretically should free the human up to ask bigger, more complex questions.
Bringing this all together, the journey the source text takes us on is a fundamental shift in perspective.
It really is.
We move away from the visceral fear of the machine taking over the cockpit and instead view the AI as an augmentation tool.
We look back at the ATM.
Right, and we realize that when technology takes over the robotic tasks, it forces human beings to elevate their work. It shifts the cognitive load from rote mechanics to complex problem solving and relationship building.
The new economic reality is that humans who use AI will outpace those who stubbornly refuse. The baseline of productivity has been permanently raised by this technology.
But the value of the human hasn't decreased. It is concentrated.
That's a great way to put it.
The machine has the data, but we have the emotional intelligence to navigate the high-stakes, nuanced interactions.
The machine knows history, but we have the abstract reasoning and adaptability to navigate unprecedented disruption.
The machine has all the answers, but we have the curiosity to ask the questions that drive innovation. And if you are listening to this, you likely already possess that natural curiosity. As the learner, you're always exploring. The question is how you are applying it to your workflow today. Stepping into the cockpit and taking hold of the controls means actively looking for the friction points in your day and learning how to hand them over to your co-pilot.
I do want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought that builds on this idea of curiosity.
Oh, please do.
We've established that the desire to ask questions is our greatest human advantage. But we are entering a bit of a paradox.
How so?
If our AI co-pilot is designed to give us instant, perfect, frictionless answers to absolutely anything we ask, how do we ensure we don't lose our curiosity?
Oh, wow.
When the struggle to find knowledge is completely eliminated, does the muscle of inquiry begin to atrophy?
That is a fascinating tension. If the answer is always instantly available, we might just stop wondering entirely.
The real challenge of the future might not be finding the right answers. The technology has already solved that.
Right.
The real challenge will be having the discipline, in a world of instant gratification, to keep asking the right questions.
It brings us right back to the turbulence. The machine can fly the plane when the skies are clear and all the answers are known.
But the future is inherently turbulent.
Exactly. Keep your hands on the wheel, keep looking out the window, and whatever you do, never stop asking questions.